Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to your May meeting. It was nice to see such a nice group here again. For people who are new, my name is Ed Silver. I'm the president. Before we start our typical meeting, we had a kind of a loss in the indirect family here, and I want Bob Greenberg, where is he? If he can come up and just make an announcement.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. I don't know whether or not you guys ever really notice the guy who sets up all these tables, puts the chairs out, puts the tablecloths out. We know him as Tommy. About 2.5 weeks ago, Tommy passed away. He was 63. His given name is Thomas, and I believe it's pronounced Scrot. It's S-Z-K-O-T. S-Z-K-R-O-T. And what I'd like to do is, if you would, please stand and let's give him a moment of silence. Amen. Thank you.
Good job, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Just for your awareness, I'll be bringing to the Philanthropic Committee and eventually to the board 2 suggestions that were offered in memory of Tom to honor him. The JCC apparently has a charity called the Tree of Life, and if the Philanthropic Committee and the board agrees, we're going to work toward giving some donation to the Tree of Life. Also, a suggestion was made, again, we'll discuss it at the board meeting. In fact, I'm curious what the sense of the group is, to make Tom an honorary South Jersey Men's Club member. Any thought about, if you like the idea, could you raise your hand? All right.
Just so you know, Tommy was, I'm always one of the first ones here. And if I needed something, Tom was there. And because of that, he was always the first one to have breakfast.
Yeah.
So Tommy, have your breakfast.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, too, because I'm sure he's not Jewish, but he always came up for a schmear.
Have we ever done that before? Did somebody else remember?
I don't know. I've not been here that long. But, okay. The membership is not here today. Dick Knopf. Yes?
I was going to say, maybe you can create a badge and give it to his family.
We thought of a certificate.
That too.
Okay. Thank you. So we don't have Dick Knopf here to talk about membership, but I understand we have 1 guest and 1 new member.
Ed, talk about the orientation. We've done that orientation since the last meeting. New member orientation.
Okay, I'll talk about it. So our guest is Stan. Could you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Stan Shumas. I'm here to lead the Couples Club. Dave Wynn has been bugging me to come to meetings for quite a while. And finally, last time he said the magic word, he said there's going to be a lot of hot women here today. So I guess I didn't get here yet.
We have 1.
So I'm a Philly boy. I'm born and bred in Philly. Went to Olney High School, University. And went to and worked in Philly, Northeast Philly, the Naval Depot for 38 years. And I worked for private companies over there at the depot, last week, General Dynamics. So we moved here in 2003. My wife and I have been here, our older daughter, they live in Voorhees, being the grandkids. We have our daughter out in California, lives in Alameda, and have a granddaughter there. So we've been blessed, I'm very happy, and it's nice to be here.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we have a new member, and I'd like to actually have a little ceremony with your new shirt. So can you come up and join us? So we have a little, your full name again is?
Jim Rosenthal.
And Jim is a new member. I'd like you to welcome him. I think you told us about yourself last time. Did you get the picture? Oh, we're going to get you a picture.
So Steve Schwartz encouraged me to come. We're fellow LA Fitness members. Me more than him. I don't know. I haven't seen you there lately. And I know Abe Fortas. We serve on the Cherry Hill Township Environmental Board together.
Yeah, we have a new tradition. Our guests and our new members get to the head of the line for breakfast. So why don't you two go up front? And since our religious chairman is... What are you trying to tell me? Oh, we have another guest? Another new member? Say again.
Shirt reach things back, guys.
Shirts are available for those who need them.
Shirts are available for those who need them.
$10 a shirt. $10 a shirt.
And since our religious chairman is not here, I'm going to lead the Hamotzi. So follow me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min ha'aretz. Amen. Again. I want to thank the gentlemen that were here at 8 o'clock, slicing onions and lox and bringing the bagels in and bringing the food in and tomatoes. So I'm probably going to miss a few names. So those gentlemen who were here early, if you just want to stand, I'd like to thank you again. As a reminder also, we have a tradition of a book and music exchange. So in the back, if anybody's interested and don't have those electronic things yet, there's some books to exchange. Bring some, take some. The leftovers go downstairs to the library downstairs. We also collect toiletries for a women's shelter, phones for a women's shelter, and eyeglasses. So thank you for those who did bring, and also food. There are so many Jewish families in our area right now that are hungry every night, and we encourage everyone to bring some food donations for each meeting.
I have a question.
Yes.
You want cell phones? Old cell phones?
Yes, old cell
Oh, I
phones.
got boxes.
Yeah, please bring them next time.
With the charger.
With charger. The board, and especially Don Weisenstein, has been very, very busy dealing with succession, and it's time to take a vote with regard to the new board members and vice presidents. So I'm going to ask Don Weisenstein, who's been busier now ever since he left the presidency.
I had a full head of hair when I started this, that's all I can tell you. First of all, I want to thank Bob Greenberg, Mike Perloff, and Rich Moskowitz, who have helped me. As past president, it's my responsibility to come up with the slate. And, you know, we talked to a lot of people, we have a slate, but I wanted to share something a little bit on the side. When I was president, it was very hard to keep track of who was doing what. So I started something called the Taskmaster. Basically, it defines everything we do and who does it. At our last board meeting, it was decided that the bylaws restrict us a little bit because every time we want to make a change, that's much more restrictive using the bylaws. So we are going to be changing the bylaws, and it's going to basically say, for job duties, refer to the taskmaster. And I maintain the taskmaster. So just for example, anytime any of you volunteer to do anything, I should know about it, and it goes in the taskmaster. And that way we know who is doing what, and it gives us the opportunity to build the leadership through the taskmaster and just keep order. We can do a lot of things together, and this is our unifying force. So in that regard, I can tell you that the slate, we do have a president, Marty Raffner. Marty, where are you? And this is what we are proposing. Today we're going to actually vote. And our president-elect is Ed Stein. Ed, where are you? And again, as a result of the taskmaster, a lot of the duties, a lot of the functions that people do as vice presidents cross many boundaries. So to keep things simple, and what we're to work on in our next board meeting is identifying better who is responsible for the various activities like programming and membership and operations and religious affairs. So I'm just going to list to you the people that will be, or we're recommending, as vice presidents, but they will be assigned their specific office once the board convenes. So those people are Rich Moskowitz. Rich, maybe you could stand up too. Dave Schwartz. Dave. Dick Knopf is not here. Rich Duckin, I don't think, is here. Phil Gordorov, did I pronounce it right, Phil? Gordorov. And Phil is new to joining us, so we're really glad to get the new ideas, and welcome aboard on that. Randy, of course, I don't think is, oh, there you are here. Okay, Randy, and Dave Nidoff behind the camera.
Cecil B. the Nidoff.
So, at the last meeting, we asked for any nominations from the floor. We didn't have any, so really by acclamation, I'm going to ask for a show of hands.
What about the other two?
I'm sorry?
The other two people for the board?
There are no other two. You're talking about?
Those are appointed.
Those are appointed. We're not doing people without portfolio. That's not an elected position. But we do have people, aside from what I just listed, that will be on the board, but not as an elected official. So by acclamation, can I have a show of hands in favor of the slate? Great. And again, I'd like to thank Joel for his contribution. I'm sorry you couldn't be joining us, but hopefully at some point down the road, we'll be glad to have you back in your interest and expertise. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. So I'm not a very observant Jew, but I've been praying for a president-elect, and thank you. And Marty, you'll be taking over in July, I believe, right? And all the officers will be taking over in July. Speaking of Marty, do you want to talk about the webpage at all? No? Mike, you want to talk about the Facebook?
Hi, we have been updating the Facebook page, SouthJerseyMen'sClub.org, not .org, just put South Jersey Men's Club. The webpage is SouthJerseyMen'sClub.org. That you get to SJM Club, because SJMC, Sweet Jesus Medical Center, all sorts of other SJMCs. So it's SJMClub.org. Now on the webpage we have a bunch of pictures that were put together from some recent activities. Some of them were very recent, which was Yom HaShoah. So there's pictures on the Facebook page about the guys who were distributing candles. There were 2 or 3 other activities, so I urge you to take a look at them. Any questions? Thank you.
By the way, the Facebook page, one of the mantras that I brought to my presidency is Jews helping other Jews, helping the Jewish community. So in terms of every member here who may need or offer help, we're going to do it through the face page vehicle. So, for example, there was an individual who wanted some guidance and help with regard to finding housing. That will be on the Facebook in the future. Dave Schwartz, I think Fred Berman is the one in charge of Phil. So Fred, is he here? He was here a minute ago. All right, I'll skip him for now. Ed Stein, he's not here either. Okay. Could you talk about the river cruise?
Yeah, a few subjects.
Just as an idea about what Don was talking about, if we follow the bylaws, there's going to be one person in charge of programming. But so many people have been involved in creating different programs, so we're going to be more flexible. So here's one that volunteered to create a program. So thank you, Ed.
I am our cruiser captain. We've organized a Morris River trip. We had one 5 years ago, actually. It seems like yesterday, but it was 5 years ago. And we're doing another one, and we filled up the one boat. We actually could have had two cruises on that Sunday. It's June 4th. But we filled up the one boat, and unless we can get 18 more people, there is no second boat. So if you are interested and you still think you might want to go, you can send me an email, and I'll see if we can get a second boat together. It's the Morris River. We're going to leave from Millville, and we sail down the Morris River toward Delaware Bay, and hopefully we'll see some eagles and osprey and some muskrats maybe, or who knows. Alligators? No.
Oh, a few people overboard?
Yeah.
And seasickness.
And no seasickness. Nah, it's pretty calm down there, and it's a pontoon boat, so it's pretty stable. A couple other things. A few months ago, we approved the purchase of an Israeli bond with some of our funds to support Israel, and we were finally able to get that accomplished. We are the proud owners of a $5,000 Sabra 3-year bond. I believe the interest rate was 2.4%. And we've received that confirmation now from the State of Israel. New members, I believe we're up to, I think we got 2 today. I think we're at 117. I might be off 1, but so we're still growing. I don't know, I guess I've been here maybe 5 years. I think we were maybe 60 or 70 around that time. So it's nice to see the kind of turnouts we're getting. Yom HaShoah, we collected funds to sponsor the cost of the candles. We had 8 members contribute. We covered the full cost of all the candles for the JCRC. And
Coming down.
what's that? I'm sorry. Shirts. Mel Chilowitz is here today. If you need a shirt, there he is. I think we have all sizes except maybe XXL, and they're on order.
No smalls.
No smalls? There were a couple. But they took them already?
Yeah. We don't want to order smalls.
No, okay, but there were 1 or 2 smalls. I mean, there were mediums, large, extra large. We had all the sizes except the XXL. And it's $10 for new members. We encourage everybody to get the new blue shirts if you would. Obviously, you can still wear the white ones. There's nothing wrong with those.
They're not $10 to new members, they get them free.
I'm sorry, $10 for old members. A shirt comes with your dues if you're a new member. And for people who want to join, now's a good time to join, because if you pay after May 1st as a new member, you're covered through next July 31st. Not this July.
31st.
No, August 31st. I'm sorry, you're right, David. August 31st. So you actually get 17 months, I don't know, 16, something like that. Anyway, that's it.
Fred Berman, can you share your program idea about the fills?
Anyway, we still have a few tickets left. We have to get 25 to go, and we have about 10 sold. It's not too late to sign up. You can either see me after the meeting or email me. The ticket is $34, and we're sitting in the second 100 level, third base, and we guaranteed either win or lose. So, it's also, you can bring your wife, your girlfriend, your children, grandchildren. So just let me know either today or email me. I'm sure you got my email by now. Thanks.
And this is another example how the taskmaster is really going to influence how we deal with the bylaws. Anybody who wants to suggest a program can simply take the lead as Fred did. So I thank him for that. Speaking of programming, there's another one going to be coming up in the fall. We're going to, and here again, it's not my job to do programming, but I did get involved with Bethel. If you remember, we've done a few joint meetings. This is not going to be a joint meeting, it's a joint program. Sunday night football at Bethel is going to be Eagles Dallas. I'm hopeful that we'll all show up. It's possible that we're going to have pizza. It has to be kosher, but I understand that we're talking about having food as opposed to just beer and chips. So I'm hopeful that, save the date, it'll be in November, and you'll get plenty of notice. I think it's November 17th, I can't remember. Rich Moskowitz, if you want to talk about Trenton Thunder. While I'm waiting for Rich, that joint program with Bethel, the meeting that's going to be scheduled for that month, we are likely to make that an orientation meeting for everybody, for all of us to get to know each other a little bit better. The board proposed that. We're going to talk about that. That might be our meeting at that month. Okay.
Thanks, Ed. Before we talk about Trenton Thunder, a 3 weeks ago, South Jersey Men's Club, as we do every year, helped out with the community Holocaust commemoration, Yom HaShoah. We handed out yellow Yortzeit candles. We had a pretty good-sized crowd. We're changing venues every year now. Wherever the president of the Tri-County Board of Rabbis, wherever their congregation is, that's where the meetings will occur. And Ed had mentioned that our members had covered the cost of the candles, which we thank everybody, of course. And we also garnered a lot of donations that night, too. So the Goodwin Holocaust Education Center has got a good donation from our men's club. So I want to thank you all. And everyone who came that helped us out, thank you very much. Another event that we're going to try, for those who want to really see good baseball, we're going to try to go to Trenton Thunder, which is a AA club of the New York Yankees. Yes. No. So this year we're going to plan it. The date is July 23rd. It's a Sunday. We do have a breakfast meeting that morning. The game on July 23rd is at 5 o'clock. I don't know if anyone's been up at the stadium up in Trenton. It's a beautiful stadium. We have two choices. We have just regular seats for the price of $8, or we can go to the picnic area, which is an all-you-can-eat buffet 90 minutes before the game, and that's $28. And the buffet entrees include hamburgers, cheeseburgers, hot dogs, veggie burgers, barbecue chicken, potato salad, baked beans, watermelon, chips and cookies, fountain soda, and water, all for the cheap price of $28. So I'm going to be passing them around. If you're interested, leave your name, how many tickets you'd like, and if you want picnic or no picnic. And then we can decide what we're going to do. Any questions?
July 23rd?
July 23rd. And the game's at 5 o'clock. I'll be passing this around and just leave the information. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. And again, another example of people just taking leadership to create program. So I want to thank Rich. In September, now that we have our application squared away, our application form, and I left examples at each table. And I want to thank Don again. Again, he's working harder than he ever did. And the board, who kept changing and improving the application. Now that we have that, we're going to do a recruitment table in September. Originally, we were told that the table that we would just have it set up downstairs for people coming in and hopefully expose them to the South Jersey Men's Club. Originally, they wanted us just to do it by ourselves, but there's going to be a program on September 10th. There's going to be tables of all types of organizations, so we're going to be one of them. The people who staff that table have to be members of the JCC. So we have a couple of board members who have agreed to do it. I won't be president by then, but I'm going to ask to see if somebody else who's a member here at the JCC could also help us staff that. It'll be all day Sunday. It's still not too late. As you know, we're part of the Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs through the Middle Atlantic region. They're having a convention right outside of Washington, D.C. It's still not too late if anybody wants to participate. You can go on on the SJMC website, and you can get information about that. Dave Schwartz, if you could introduce our speaker.
Good morning. I remember the microphone this time. Joanne Rosen is a good friend of mine and the Vice President of Samaritan Healthcare and Hospice. is here to talk to us about ethical wills. Please welcome Joanne Rosen.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me back again. As if you had a choice, my friend David keeps inviting me here, so thank you for indulging him and me. Does anybody know what an ethical will is?
I've written one.
Good for you. Tell us about it.
Well, it's basically what your philosophy of life is, how you live your life, what you like to do, and to try and tell your family all of that, so maybe they can emulate you in the future.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Did I see another hand? Rabbi.
I'm sort of a rainer on this one, so I'll step out for a moment.
Well, you'll help me later then.
Okay.
So that's exactly right. Ethical wills are a way to pass on our family traditions, our family history, our story, really the Torah of our lives. So I encourage you, and as a proud employee of Samaritan Healthcare and Hospice, I really am so inspired by the patients and their families that are in our care every single day. And, you know, when we're faced with a serious illness or some crisis or something unfortunate, it really helps us, for some people, count your blessings and also think about what matters most. You know, we're all very, very busy with lots to do, and sometimes hard to figure out what's the next priority. But if somebody's facing a serious illness, those priorities become honed down to a short list. And so we encourage people to live fully every single day. No day is promised. Our patients and families know that their life expectancy is most likely limited, but we don't know. So, you know, what I've learned is to count my blessings every single day. I have so much to be thankful for. My life, my health, my strength, my parents who taught me, my brother, my children, everybody in my life, I'm very, very thankful for. So I'm here today to encourage you to think about what matters most to you, what is most important. Is it your life, your health, your family, your possessions? Do you even think about this? And have you ever, if you think about it, have you ever expressed it to the people in your life who are most important? We don't always express what's in our hearts to those who mean the most to us, but it's so important. So ethical wills are a way to ensure that you do express yourself, that you talk about your family values, your wisdom, and your blessings, and they are passed on to not just the next generation, but future generations. So I would guess that many, and I would hope most of you here today, have completed your last will and testament, because your possessions, your assets are very important to you, and you want to designate who should receive them when you're gone. And hopefully many of you have completed your living will, advance directive. Not easy to do, as Philip will tell you, but very important. And you know, last time I was here, we talked about 5 wishes, and it's still here if you want to pick it up and think about it. But today, it's a different kind of a will, an ethical will. This is a way to share your family's legacy, and it really is a priceless gift that you can pass on, and a way for you to live on in the hearts and minds of your children, your grandchildren, and future generations. This ethical will is probably the only way they would ever know you. Rabbi Ed Feinstein suggested that an ethical will could simply be a letter addressed to those you love. Include everything that life has taught you. What did you learn from childhood and from growing up? What did you learn from your formal education and your not so formal education? What have you learned from your family and friends? from working, from your career, from retiring? And what did you learn from your triumphs and successes and from your failures and disappointments? The lessons of life are wonderful lessons. What have you learned from the deaths of your loved ones and from the path of mourning? What is the lesson, the learning, the wisdom, the Torah of your life? What is your story, your legacy, your message? Write it down, videotape it, give that precious and priceless gift of your voice and your wisdom. When my mother died in 2003, I found among her things a letter that she wrote to my brother and I in 1965. We don't know for sure, but we think that she must have wrote it just in case when my parents, just in case something should happen, when my parents went on their first vacation that involved a plane ride without my brother and I. Of course, we were crushed, but my mother wrote this letter just in case. In the letter, she told us to love one another, always stay close with each other and both sides of the family, the Rosens and the Kirschners, to get a good education, to work hard, and always strive to do better, to improve ourselves. She encouraged us to respect Judaism and to pass it on to our children, to be kind, to be generous, and so much more. My son read that his grandmother's very profound letter at her funeral, and I realized later, when I started looking into this, that letter from my mother was really her ethical will. She didn't call it that, she didn't think that way, but she was passing on her wisdom, her advice, her love. I'm going to read you an ethical will from a man named Barry, and this is a wonderful example. To my family, in reading my ethical will, I hope that you will find few surprises. I believe I have been about the things that I have valued over time. I've also tried to live my values on a day-to-day basis, and I trust that I've succeeded more often than I have failed. As I matured and accumulated life experiences, and life is a great teacher, I think I gained an appreciation of the importance of balance in my life. Balance among the family, work, spiritual, and physical aspects of my life, and having fun. It's easy to let things get out of balance, and when they do, life can get out of control and become miserable. Anybody ever experienced that? Working too hard, out of balance, not having enough fun, not spending enough time with our families. That's a lesson unto itself. So he suggests to his family, always try to maintain a balance in your life. Having a good sense of humor is very important. I know you've all moaned and groaned at my puns from time to time. Overall, the laughter was well worth it. It's important to have fun, and there is humor in almost all aspects of life. It's impossible to be successful in everything you do. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. We learn a lot from mistakes. Just be sure you learn something from them. Sometimes you can learn more from a mistake than always doing everything right. Respect life, yours and others. I'm a believer in the idea of treating other people the way you want to be treated. This is the proverbial golden rule, which actually comes from the book of Leviticus in the heart of the Torah. My hopes to you, Alicia and Hannah, are that you find a vocation that adds value to the world. This is my interpretation of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. This gentleman happens to be a physician who works in hospice, and he says, I feel very lucky to have worked in the hospice world and devoting some of my energies to issues that people face at the end of life. I think trying to relieve suffering has been a worthwhile pursuit for me. I hope you continue the traditions and faith of Judaism. Although this spiritual aspect of myself was relatively unimportant in my younger years, I feel you all have a wonderful foundation and excellent skills and knowledge in regard to the basic tenets of Judaism. I hope you will be able to pass these on to future generations. I hope you're as lucky as I was in finding a soulmate to share your life with someone with whom to enjoy time together, grow together, solve problems together, support each other, laugh, and love together. It may not last forever, but the effort of staying together is well worth it. One of my regrets is that my parents and father-in-law weren't around to share in some of the things we have done as a family. Another regret is not spending more time as a family. We certainly took some incredible trips, but you kids have grown up so fast, and before you know it, you'll be out there, or soon will be, on your own. You have been a great source of joy and strength for me. I love you all very much. How profound is that? Anybody feel this, some of those things in common, some of those things you've learned, some of those things you feel and would want to pass on? Well, ethical wills are actually a lovely Jewish custom. Parents would write letters to their children, just like this one, to sum up all they had learned in life and express what they wanted most for and from their children. They would leave letters behind because they believed that the wisdom they acquired was just as much part of the legacy they wanted to leave as were their material possessions. The first ethical wills were actually found in the Torah. Jacob gathered his children around his bedside to try to tell them what they should do after he was gone. And Moses made a farewell address to the Jewish people to instruct them before he died. In Pirkei Avot, we learn the lessons of the fathers. This chapter of the Mishnah is solely devoted to Jewish values, morals, and ethics. And I'm sure that Rabbi Aaron could elaborate on all of those things, but it really is part of our faith, our tradition, and the beauty of Judaism. There's no special formula that dictates the format or content of an ethical will, but what's important is that it expresses the essence of your heart and your soul, I would suggest. If the message is from your heart, the format doesn't matter. If you spell words wrong or your grammar's not perfect, everything will be so endearing to your loved ones. So what you have to say is really important. And if you think you don't have much to say, please think again. You have each lived and learned in your own special and unique way. And I am positive, not knowing you, that you have lots of gifts, lots of wisdom, your family story to pass on. Make it an expression of your unique personality. If you enjoy writing poetry or music or expressing yourself through the arts, use the way that you want to express yourself. If you're not good with written words, you could do a video. You could dictate audio. Your penmanship may be poor, but you might want to write it anyway or use a computer. Your own creativity is your own limitation. Like my mother, some ethical wills will relay your advice, like these principles for living from the ethical will of Michael Greenspan to his children, Lisa and David. Do the right thing as often as you can. Only worry about the things you can do something about. That's so easy to say, isn't it? Try as hard as you can, and having done so, don't look back if things don't work out. Be positive. Try to find the best in a bad situation. Be interested in a lot of things. People who are interested are interesting. Show everyone that you love them, and be sure to tell them too. In making decisions, Tend toward those that maximize your options. Procrastinating over a decision until there is no decision to be made is really a decision in itself. Can you imagine yourself sitting down, if you agree with any of those or you have your own words of advice? You know, would your kids sit down and listen to you, or would they say, "Oh, Dad, come on, Dad"? My son would not want to hear that from me. But if I wrote it down and he read it at some point, at least I can pass it on. Some ethical wills relay your family history and impactful experiences and life lessons, like these from a letter from Bernice Tayshoff as she approached her 100th birthday. She wrote a very lengthy letter. She said, "My parents were Louis and Esther Levine, and I was the second child of 3. My father named me Bracha, the feminine form of Baruch, which was his grandfather's Hebrew name. My father told me he named me after him because he felt I, too, would be able to attain any goal I wished." Religion has always played a vital role in my life. It started when I learned that my father wouldn't have anyone to say Kaddish for him after he died. I resolved that I would become educated and read the prayers in Hebrew, which for me was direct communication with God. I say a few of the Hebrew words as an introduction, and then I talk directly with God. He answers by giving me a feeling of being protected and loved, and this has always been very comforting. As you can see, I have a great need to leave something of myself. I hope you will always feel my love, comfort, and embrace. My Hebrew name Bracha means blessing, and I believe that I have been that to honor my father's memory. I want to live in your thoughts, lovingly as a guide, so you will make more out of your lives than I did. In this respect, you are keeping my memory alive. Living in memory with love is living forever. And this is not only healthy for our hearts and our souls and our family, but Dr. Andrew Weil wrote in his book called Healthy Aging that the ethical will is pertinent to those of us who are concerned with making sense out of our lives and the fact of aging. Aging is not fun. We don't look forward to it, but it's part of life. Deep human needs can be addressed by writing legacy documents like an ethical will. Oops. To belong, to be known, to be remembered, and to make a difference. To bless others and to be blessed. To celebrate life. So it turns out that an ethical will is good for us in other ways too. The healthy, healing exercise may provide physical and mental advantages too. From the heart, writing can offer a variety of benefits that may even enhance your well-being. So it's logical to assume that the preparation of an ethical will also offer similar benefits. It's never ever too early until it's too late. Writing our ethical wills is not something that should be put off. It's often best to write materials like this when we are fresh and unpressured by time. You can get it started now and always add to it, subtract, change your mind, keep it going. So I ask you to consider what matters most to you. What would you say in your ethical will? When will you get started? And in closing, I wish you all a long, healthy life, and I say, L'chaim. Thank you. So who's ready to write your ethical will? Yay, a few people! David, you better raise your hand. Anybody want to, Rabbi, would you share with us, please, your words of wisdom, your encouragement?
Okay, I think the most important thing to know when writing an ethical will is that you're not writing literature, great literature. You are writing for, your audience is very small. You're not writing for the world, you are writing for the people that you love. And in some way that's a difficult audience, but in another way it's not so bad. As Joanne said, it doesn't have to be beautifully handwritten. You can make spelling mistakes. They know you can't spell already. You can make grammatical mistakes. They know your grammar already. You can be as honest as you want. In fact, I'd say you can lie a little, because we never really reach all our values. So it's easy to say, this is what I tried to do, but you could also say, I didn't always make it. In some way, we think about the ethical will as something that we're doing for our loved ones. Giving them wisdom, giving them guidance, giving them direction in life that they can follow even when we are no longer here in the physical way. But I think in a more important way, it is for the person who's writing it. It gives us the time to reflect on our lives, to learn about ourselves, to know who we are, to follow Socrates' greatest command, which is know yourself. It gives us the opportunity to do that essential Jewish practice known as teshuvah, that self-introspection, that looking into our ways, seeing how we manage to negotiate our life's pilgrimage, to explore once again some of the highways and byways of our lives. It's a continuing project. You can do it all the time. In some way, I think an ethical will is a good place to start even a more important journey, and that's called journaling. When you can do this maybe once a month, once a week, once a day, just checking in and reflecting on your life. But I would encourage everyone to start taking a pen to pencil, fingers to the keyboard, mouth to the microphone, or if you're photogenic like me, do a video. So I want to thank you, Joanne, for really sharing a very important Jewish tradition. And it is. The tradition goes back to biblical times. We have ethical wills, some of which have been preserved, some of them which are quite nice. My favorite one, if I remember correctly, is an ethical will from one of the members of the Ibn Tibbon family. They were a family of translators, 12th, 13th century in Provence. And I think it was Shmuel Ibn Tibbon was writing to his son, who was not so good. He actually became a good guy later, but he was a little difficult, and he was giving him some good advice. And one of the pieces of advice was, be very careful to whom you lend books. Make sure you get them back. So that you can put in almost anything you want. The idea of starting off with an ethical foundation is the best place to begin. So, if you have any questions for Joanne, please ask them. Yes?
I wrote mine at least a half dozen years ago because it was another trigger. I forget exactly what it was that got me to write it. I wrote it. Now the question is, do you send it out to your family while you're still alive, or do you have them look at it with the other things and the other wills and so forth?
I would think they should have access to it.
Before you die?
Well, they have you before you die. So my guess is that you should develop the strength to tell them what you believe face to face. As good as the ethical will is, the physical interaction is even better. So if we can sit and talk to people, that's the best thing that we can do at any time in our lives, is to give people the gift of our time of presence.
So this is a way of sort of filling in afterwards. The big problem is when we die, we're no longer here, so that we only have the ones we love in our hearts and in our minds. This is a way of reinforcing that, but so long as you're here, keep talking to them, even after they tell you to shut up. Very good.
One issue along with the same thing. I mean, you're talking about something that may be in existence years or centuries from now, just as
could be.
Could be. So it's so important to have it in some kind of format that's going to be preserved. Today it's digital, no question about it.
Well, the truth is, it only has to last about 50 years, because after about a generation or two, we become part of genealogical records. I mean, that's sort of sad, but it is sort of true. The most famous people in the world today, all our celebrities, will be forgotten in 50 years. So the people that I want to know me are my friends, my contemporaries, my children, and if I'm so blessed, my grandchildren. After that, I'll be so far away. If for some strange reason, whatever of me remains, that will be very nice. And my guess, talking personally, whatever of me remains will not be interesting for great scholarly academic purposes beyond someone's master thesis and what Jewish life was like in Camden County in the beginning of the 21st century. Some sort of odd footnote. So I don't think we have to worry about that, but I always like to put things in ways that can be preserved, God only knows. So far right now, in my opinion, is acid-free paper with ink that is also acid-free, and pray that there isn't a house fire or a hurricane.
What's the difference between memoir and ethical will?
20-minute read and 5 hours. No, a memoir is also good, whatever way you can get to it. So an ethical will can be anything from 3 or 4 paragraphs to a full memoir. One of the issues with ethical will is really focusing on the values of one's life. Please step in, Joanne, because I'm doing a lot of talking and I just came here for breakfast. And a memoir is a way of recreating our lives. I think in some way, and this is again very personal, we can be more honest in the short ethical will than we can in the memoir. The memoir is a reconstruction of our lives, and that's very important from a certain perspective. So memoirs don't give us some historical points about a person's biography, but it always really is talking about the person when he or she is writing it. So that's an important thing. This is sort of all connected. So start off with your 3-paragraph ethical will, start journaling, and then get your 5 volumes or 7 volumes Proust memoir, okay? And anything in between, you get credit. You can't fail in this. You always pass. Yes, Mike.
Yes. How many people might be interested if the Men's Club put together a small group to facilitate you doing ethical wills? It could be videos, it could be that they be posted either on a closed private Facebook page or part of a website, and then help you along with how to do it. Anybody interested in the possibility? I'm not asking you to step up and do any work, but how many would be willing to either participate in any way? Anybody? Just one?
I'll help you out with that, Mike. If people want to help, I can help you with it.
3.
If you want to organize it.
So in other words, 4 or 5. So in other words, what would happen would be if you wrote something, that could be posted online. And again, if you're not familiar with it, you can't have Facebook pages limited to only the people you designate. Okay, and where it could be possible that we could put it on the South Asian Men's Club webpage in a private access section that only you and people you designate can do. Dave?
Mike, I think the trigger, I don't remember, but the trigger might have been something that SJMC put out.
It was.
Okay, so maybe whatever that is the beginning of whatever you're trying to plan.
Right, I think it was almost 15 years ago, or maybe longer, that at an SJMC, Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs convention, there were workshops on doing ethical wills. And if they have anything developed, that you take an awful lot of work out of our future when we're working on this. So we'll look into it and let you know.
One thing on memoirs and why they're a little different. In memoirs, you're not only talking about yourselves, you're talking about your interactions with other people, describing that. That can be helpful in terms of example. But when we're writing memoirs and we're writing about other people, we have to be also very careful in terms of the issues of personal information, talking about other people, the Shon Hara, and things like that. Ethical wills, being shorter, can protect you from some of those sins. However, they're not as juicy as a good memoir.
One more question, just one more.
This is 2 questions.
One more with 2 parts.
Could/should a person who's preparing an ethical will essentially put them, I'll use the word banks, on individuals specifically or just generically?
It's very personal to you. You can do whatever you want, but you also want to, it's a gift. It's a positive thing. So if there are commands like, or you're getting, some people might try to get even with somebody like, I never forgot when you hurt me that time. Like, that's not really the most productive thing and the way you necessarily want to be remembered, but it's really, there's no rules. It's what you want to do, but what we're encouraging is positive.
Okay, what I was talking, that was the don'ts. The second one was, what are the don'ts of
Think about, when you're not here, this is supposed to be positive, learning, appreciating, a way to share your love and extend your legacy.
So it's not like thou shalt go to synagogue once a month.
You could say that if you want, but, it's like, oh, he's still saying it. He said that all the time.
Marty, to give you a sort of negative example from the Bible, when King David was about to leave this world, he gets his son Solomon, who's going to be the next king, and he says, this guy was good to me, this guy was good to me, you be good to them, this guy was not so good to me, this guy was not so good to me. Give them what you think is right in their eyes.
Okay.
Now, if that's the type of legacy you want to leave your children, as a vindictive, nasty person, they can say, hey.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
We have some handouts, so can we get some help with?
I'm not sure I have enough, but if not.
All right, David, you do those. So we give you some handouts that way.
I'm going to get these pictures. I never had a picture.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. Let's come out front. We're going to give you a certificate. In fact, you do it, David.
Come here.
We have a certificate of thanks for Joanne coming again. She's going to wallpaper one of her rooms with our certificates.
Eddie, come here.
That's good.
You're so sick of it.
Come on, Eddie.
Thank you. Are we together?
Yes.
Okay. We have another task for you.
Okay.
Our 50-50 is how much?
Our 50-50 is $58 for the winner.
$58. Joanne, you've got to.
Want me to hand these
Wow.
out, right?
Yeah. Pick mine, Joanne.
I'll try it. I'm going to read the last 3 numbers. 038.
Mistakes. Big mistakes.
038, last 3 numbers. No? Somebody? You know what? I gotta check my tickets.
My tickets are not winners.
I took your tickets. Oh, all right.
David, did you check your tickets?
Looks pretty good. Thank you, sir.
Did we get one?
We got a winner. Right here. They got me.
Have a good month, gentlemen. See you next month. Thank you for coming.
Next.